Hello everyone and welcome to Mathematics, where this channel is able to help you to build up your habit interpreting a question a day in mathematics. So for today's video, we will look at a question from Form 4 Chapter 1 Functions. So before we begin to discuss this question, y'all can take a look and try it by yourself first. So for part A, what we can highlight is there are two types of graphs, graph P and graph Q. And for this question, they are telling us to find the domain and the range of the two graphs. So for graphs, there are actually two ways to answer this question. Because for graphs, we can categorize them into two. One we call is discrete, and the other one we call as continuous. So for discrete cases, it will be, example, graph P. So if you see this graph, there are only dots. So for continuous, like in graph Q, it is a curve, or it can be a straight line. So this is what we know as continuous. So for discrete cases, when we are answering, we need to include the set bracket. And for continuous wise, we need to include the range. So let's say x is from where to where. So let's answer the first part of the question first, just to find the domain. So for domain, we will look at the x-axis. So by looking into graph P, we need to include all the x coordinates of all these points. So here's all quite straightforward, except for this one. Because this is not given, so this appears to be the middle of 0 and 2, so we can just find the average of both of them, which is 1. So here I will just list out all the x coordinates using set bracket. So for this graph, we need to find the smallest x and the largest x. So here, what you can see is that this curve starts here, so the smallest x value will be 0. And it ends here. So our x value is the largest, which is 7. So here, we will just write 0 to 7. So let's go into part 2. So it's the same thing, it's just that we need to refer to the y-axis. So here for graph P, we need to include all the y coordinates. All the y coordinates are given except for this one. So again, this one is like the middle of 8 and 6. So we just find the average, which is 7. So here we would write, and for graph Q. So for graph Q, we need to find the lowest y value and the highest y value. So here what we can see is that this -4 is the lowest point and 2 is the highest. So here we will just write -4 to 2. But in the middle here, we need to refer back to our axis. So here it's y, or for chapter 1, we can assume y is also f of x. So here we will just write this. So moving on to part B, we are required to sketch a modulus graph. So how do I know it's a modulus graph? Because there are two particular lines here. So make sure when we are drawing the graph, we need to make sure it is a V shape. So how do we draw this graph? So we need to consider two things. The first thing would be the endpoints. Endpoints meaning we need to find the starting point and the ending point when we are drawing the graph. So you can see that the x limits us to draw from -3 until 2. And the other one would be our x or y intercepts. Right? So let's find out all these points. So in total, there are actually 4 points. The first one would be the x-intercept, So we can find x-intercept by letting y equals to 0. For y-intercept, we can put x equals to 0, and for the first endpoint, you can consider x equals to minus 3, and the other endpoint, we can consider x equals to 2. So for x-intercept, we can also do the same thing. So we put y equals to 0, but how do we solve the modulus? So for 0, if the other side is 0, we can just remove the modulus. Alright, so here we just rearrange to get x equals to minus 1 over 3. The reason why we can just remove the modulus is because for most of the times when we remove modulus, it will bring a plus and a negative to the other side. So by moving the positive and negative sign to the other side, these two cases have the same result, which is to just remove the modulus sign. So since these two are the same, so we just only consider one case. And to get our x. So here our points would be these, and we plot these 4 points into a graph. So there you have it, your modulus graph, and it is in a V shape. So with that, we have completed this question. So the take-home points will be 2. So the first one would be when we are trying to find the domain and the range for graphs, make sure there are 2 ways, and you need to make sure what kind of graph is it. Is it a discrete graph? If yes, we need to consider the set bracket. If it's a continuous one, we need to find the range from where to where. Another thing is to draw graphs. So for drawing graphs, you need to remember these 3 things. The first one would be the endpoints. So make sure we need to know when does the graph start and end. The other one would be our x and y intercepts. And the last one, which we will see some questions in chapter 2, we need to also include the minimum and maximum points. Alright, so if you are interested in this questions answer scheme, please refer to the video description to find the link. And if you feel this is beneficial to you, please like, subscribe and share it to your friends and classmates. So I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Thank you.